So what you need to know in the month of May is temperance. So temperance is actually not too bad of a card. It just talks about balancing things, balance and moderation in your life, right? Not overindulging in one area, just making sure that everything's balanced and everything, is in a good has a good flow. And this usually just means for the self, right? So never like delving into someone else's business, or not taking up responsibility that isn't your own, making sure that your stuff is on point and on par for right now. Temperances talk about also, maybe there's a certain change of events that are happening, and right now it's just requiring you to just be patient and open to what's coming in, right? Just handle your situation as best as you can, and and have the utmost patience with the situation because it's coming in really soon. Let's see, why do we have temperance coming out? Why is temperance coming out for them? Why are they being asked to be patient? Why are they being asked to balance their situation? What's going on? Oh, the devil. Okay, what's the devil here? Sorry about the background noise. People are driving all crazy outside. Oh, the star. What an interesting combination, because usually the star and the devil, I see them as not necessarily the same thing, or not necessarily too different, but they're not necessarily the same, because the star is hope. And the devil is things that make you feel empowered. It would make you feel disempowered, rather. So there could be, like I said, situations or things that you're doing that make you feel like you don't have a lot of control in your circumstances, and it's pulling you away from what you want, pulling you away from what your hopes are. Um, the what I asked is, what is the devil? The devil is the star, and the devil, like I said before, could be attachments. It could be, it could be sex. It could be taboo. I kind of get the feeling though that the reason why the devil is coming up in the story is, is clarifying that, is that I think there may have been an old direction that you may have been going, that was that used to be your hope, that used to be your dream, that used to be a certain destination. It may be an old dream, and a dream that does no longer serve you, because this devil does talk about recognizing what doesn't serve you, the things that hold us back. And a lot of times, right, maybe there was a certain direction that you were going that just doesn't actually help you. It doesn't push you forward. It doesn't empower you in the way that it should. And it's, I think it's recognizing what doesn't, and, creating a new path, creating a new direction. Why is the star coming up for the devil? I want to ask that one last question here. Okay. Wow, you're getting major arcana card after major arcana cards, Virgo. Whoa. So, the Hangman. Seeing something from a different perspective. So the reason why the star is coming up for the devil is because the hangman does represent seeing things from a different angle, seeing things from a different perspective, getting a certain, seeing something from a different view. And I feel like there may be something that you may have been striving for at one point, but it's turned toxic, and you may have to see that it's not necessarily the right path. Maybe it is. Maybe the path in which you were going on was inspiring you to do greater and better things for yourself, but I think there may have to be another direction in which you do it, right? Maybe there's one way you have to just completely omit, a new way that you have to kind of adopt and go in that direction. Because I feel like the temperance here, it's still patient, still time to moderate, but I feel like it's eliminating some things that haven't been working, and changing your strategy and about going in a certain direction. And it requires, it requires patience. It requires seeing things from a different angle. And I think it ultimately may have to do with, not taking so much action, if that makes sense. So, like, the Hangman is not action oriented. He's observing. He's listening. He's open to messages. He's not like he's not taking any sort of any action here. He doesn't know what to do. He's taking a moment to look at his circumstances from a different circumstance or from a different perspective or different angle, for a different point of view. So I feel like right now, it's like to kind of get yourselves in order. Try to just kind of balance your situation out here. And there's nothing outside of you that needs working on. And even if your life is perfectly, organized and everything, keep that up, because I think there's something that just you know, needs to be attended to, that requires a different version, a different point of looking at it, and coming from a standpoint of, you have your stuff, your ducks in order. You don't need anybody, and no one else needs you. You have literally cut off any sort of way of helping people, or people helping you. You're completely self-reliant right now. And I think when you're self-reliant, you'll be able to see a situation for what it really is. And sometimes it may not be necessarily a toxic situation, just maybe that there's certain things or behaviors or ways of interacting with each other that isn't necessarily, beneficial to either one of you. But right, there could be just some things that may need to change in order for there to be any sort of thriving energy. So, in order for that to happen, you have to be independent. You have to stand on your own 2 feet, and you have to, know when to give and when not to, when you end and when you don't, and you start by focusing solely on yourself. Okay, so let's see. Well, how does this impact your love life specifically? How does this impact your love life specifically? Or you know what? Actually, we'll get to that in a second. I want to know what this devil exactly really is. Like, what is the hangman and the star? Well, no. What is the devil actually trying to tell us about what needs patience? Okay, the King of Cups. Love. Now, it could be that it's someone that's, kind of resistant when it comes to communication. But the Knight of Swords is coming through. It's coming through right now. So maybe one person is more apt to talking about their feelings while another is not. Or someone is very, focused on their own feelings and they don't consider anyone else's, which is why there is a need for you to be focusing solely on what you need to do and not someone else's, and not being so caretaky, not taking care of everybody else. Especially not the King of Cups. He needs to figure out how to communicate on his own. But the King of Cups isn't necessarily a bad thing. This is also a dream. Like, he could be the dream person, the dream man, or the dream woman, whatever. The King of Cups is someone that definitely is romantic, that rises to the emotional occasion. They are rarely in tune to their emotions, okay? And they're able to persuade people into, get them to feel a certain way. They're very good at making people feel a certain way, okay? And as well as shifting their own feelings. But they also contend with their feelings as well. Ones that can't necessarily be changed, ones that are just, that they have to feel. They understand the importance of letting that flow. So I feel like you're in love with somebody here that's been that you've been dealing with and has been getting difficult. It could be that you guys are in a tied relationship, or a relationship where it feels like you guys either can't live without each other, or it's just hard to kind of separate. It's just something that that you feel bound to. But it's, there are new ways of rehydrating or re-energizing the relationship. But I feel like it starts by becoming, completely self-oriented, looking at yourself, feeling, being yourself, right? Not necessarily going out of your way to always, help. Because there's nothing wrong with helping people. But I think the biggest thing is that you may have been leaving yourself hanging on the sidelines. You haven't been allowing yourself to being taken care of too. And that, therefore, it's kind of depleting you of everything that you've got. Alright? Which is why the Temperance card comes up. You have to kind of replenish the garden for yourself. How is this affecting your love life specifically? Okay. Knight of Wands. Why is the Knight of Wands coming up? The oh wow, the Five of Swords. How it's how this is affecting your love life is, well, first of all, it hasn't been very fun, and it doesn't seem like it's been very fun for a long time. It looks like it's been a battleground. It's been unhealthy circumstances where everybody's contending for themselves, right? They're trying to make sure that their backs are covered. You know, because I think there have been some times where somebody may have not have considered someone else and always look to their needs only. The Knight of Wands indicate there is a lack of maturity in some degree in regards to expression, in regards to time spent, and commitment. You know, and I feel like I think Virgo, I think you may have been dealing with somebody that's just been not necessarily a player, but they haven't settled and they don't seem to be settled in any area, let alone their love life. And that's affecting you because it's also making you feel like you're in a situation with them where it's not going to last. Kind of get this feeling that that's what's going on. Even though you feel like there's a really strong connection between the two of you, there is this feeling that there's something that's keeping you from, being able to, connect with this person. And I don't think this person necessarily is looking to play games. And I know the Knight of Wands does represent the player, but I don't necessarily see that. What I feel like when it comes to the Knight of Wands, this person is fun. This person is, a life of a party, but they're also you're very interested in what they feel and what they want to do, and they may not be so compromising as to what they want to experience, but they are always up for an adventure. They're always up to trying new things. The Five of Swords is one that's interesting. Why is the Five of Swords coming up for the Knight of Wands here? Wow, the Three of Swords. Okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Because what this is telling me right now is that the Three of Swords is coming up for the Five of Swords. This person's being, like, the person that you're dealing with, yes, very self-absorbed, maybe handling things very immaturely, but very youthful. They're very fun. They like to do things. And the reason why is because they've probably been in a situation where they're trying to heal from an old relationship. Now, the King of Cups is a healer. He can heal himself. He can heal everyone around him. But the way he heals is from the source, right, which is love. So, in order for him to heal, he has to give himself, freedom. He has to give himself, attention. He has to, he or she, right? It doesn't have to be a specific sex that's attached to the King of Cups. I'm only referencing he for the king portion of this, of the card, obviously. But my point is that you may be dealing with somebody that's self-absorbed, looking to get what they want out of a situation, not being considerate of others, because they have been hurt before when they have been the person that was giving. Now, at the same time, it could be you, Virgo, that's been doing this, right? You could be the person that's been wronged in the past, and you've been, held back, and therefore you're kind of purging. You're letting all of that energy out. You're just kind of like, I gotta be me, I gotta be me, I gotta be me, and, you're looking at your own self-interests and not looking at someone else's. That's very rare that you don't ever see someone else's self-interests because you guys are so caring. You guys are always helping people. This is why the first things I said is like, guys, you need to make sure you just stay out of people's stuff. Focus on yourself. Give yourself that time back because you guys are always giving your time and energy to someone else and never yourself. So, but, in the very chance could be you, there is a reason for it, of course. There's never any sort of judgment for it. That's why I always like to ask questions. And this is the situation I'm seeing. There's a lot of pain here. There's a lot of pain here, and I feel like it has to do with not being considered, with always being the odd one out, always being the considered, the person that's unconsidered, that's not, their opinion not respected. You're looking at your opinion now, or this person that's outside of you definitely is, okay? So, I feel like this is not necessarily a bad thing, but the inconsideracy of it is, where it kind of feels like they're just, they're choosing their freedom over you. When in actuality, this is just them being themselves. They're trying to be themselves in the best way that they can. I feel like they could probably handle it in a lot better way. Instead of the Five of Swords, it's indicating difficult conversations and arguments and such. But I feel like, this person, even though they're coming from a very hurt place, they are trying their best to, to respect their needs, because I don't think someone else in the past has. Okay. And how this situation is affecting your love life, well, I feel like it's encouraging you as well to consider your own needs as well, because it's not necessarily in a all man for the every man for themselves sort of deal, but more of like, you are just as important, if not more important, than the people around you that want something. You have needs, you have desires, you have wants yourself, and those need to be considered. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the overall outcome for this reading. The Page of Pentacles. Let's see why we got the Page of Pentacles in your outcome. Why does Virgo have the Page of Pentacles in their outcome? Gosh. All cards kept coming, flipping out. Wow. Okay. Now the outcome looks like there may be something that you look a little bit closely into in regards to your safe space, what makes you happy, what makes you feel safe and stable. But I feel like there's some tedious work that needs to be done regarding this, either your life and your relationship, but it's going to blossom over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to blossom over time. And the biggest thing to remember with the Page of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles in your outcome like that, I feel like it's really just indicating here that, things will improve once the hardest part is over. Because of course we're looking at this, the situation for what needs to be done, and I see you guys are willing to do that. You guys are willing to put what's ever needed to, improve your situation. But I also feel like, there's a severe area where you could be extremely bored, but at least your situation regarding your home, your love life, your work, they're all in a good place. They're all representing the hard work that you put in, and I feel like you're going to be happy with seeing the progress that you made in your life, way more reflective than it has been. But it starts by keeping your stuff together, keeping you under, not under control, but making sure that your needs and everything that you have is settled and dealt with and such, and not always looking to help people, and not always looking to extend your energy elsewhere, right? I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with extending your energy elsewhere. I feel like that's a great thing. We need people like you to willingly help, but we also need people like you to take care of yourselves and show that you can take care of yourselves, so that way we can help you back too, and the world can go full circle. So it's a big thing right now, Virgos. It's really big. So let's see what the Messenger Oracle has for you guys. I was pulling like 2 cards from Taurus to Gemini. That's too many cards. From Taurus. Oh no, not Taurus. From Gemini to Leo. I did Taurus and Aries a week ago. And I kind of forgot that I only pulled 1. So I'm going to go back to just pulling 1. And then next week, I'll be a little bit more consistent with the Oracle cards. So, wow, time to ground. Like I said, there's no need to do anything that's outside of yourself right now. Focusing on grounding yourself is one of the biggest things that's needed to be done right now, because you've got some stuff that's changing. You got some things that you're beginning to adjust. Focusing on your needs is very important right now when it comes to time. When it comes to time to ground, right? It's like there's no need to get ready to go anywhere. It's more of like let's kind of get ourselves together. Let's kind of what's the best way to put it? Let's start creating a home. Start building a fort. That's what the card's pretty much talking about. And this whole reading is telling you about time to ground, time to focus on the self, trying to